Ducktales, 20 years later, by anonymous number 9643053. Oh, give me a break. Episode 23, last chapter. Scrooge McDuck stood, young, healthy and strong, in tan leather highs with bandages wrapped around his webbed feet instead of shoes. He stood in the driving snow of the Yukon, saying nothing, just looking upon the sight he beheld. He held a goose egg nugget in his hands and held it up. Two white feathered hands appeared, took the nugget from the man's hands. They were dressed in blue accented khakis, topped with a pith helmet. He stood as he held a gift from his uncle, in the jungle of India, near the mountain range. As he stood, the giant gold nugget began to turn to dust in his hands. Gold dust. He smiled as the euphoria of discovery came upon him. He looked up at his uncle, who was already disappearing over the horizon, off towards the pristine splendor of White Agony Creek. Arm in arm with a gilt goddess with hair that was gold and jewels of gold in a dress that shone in the light. Goldie! Oh, that makes me so sad. With a gasp, Dewey woke up. Pain in his chest, however, caused him to cry out. Before he laid back, trying to will away the ache by staying perfectly still. Good, you're awake, said a familiar voice. Dewey looked over and saw, in a sailor uniform, with both eyes, although one was strangely inert, was his Uncle Donald, who had bandages wrapped over his own stomach. Uncle Donald, he said, his throat dry. What? We're back at Duckburg. It's been 2 days since we were shot. Farron, dead. Just wasn't too pleased with that little stunt we pulled. But after hearing the recorded confession, well, they found us? Innocent. You've been reinstated as CEO of McDuck Enterprises, with apologies from the board of directors. But Dewey's hand traveled up and over his heart. He felt the bandages underneath. His head turned in response to a strange metallic clink. Donald dropped a hospital end on a strange, gnarled metal object. It seemed to be a crumpled bullet, but flowered out strangely, almost comprised of two pieces. The the dime around your neck, yes. It caused the bullet to stop just short of your heart. If it hadn't been there, the doctors said you probably would be dead. Dewey looked from the former number one dime before looking up at the ceiling, breathing evenly. Memories from, was it really 2 days ago? Memories from then flooded back to him. A feeling of triumph came over his face. However, the war. What about the war? There is no war, Dewey. But, but the Bernia has finally been absorbed into the Soviet Union. The Grand High Marshal was executed, probably for trying to start nuclear war over a magical time. For the moment, we're safe. Besides the conflict in Nam, of course. Dewey sighed relieved. I want a phone. No. No! No. Louis is acting CEO until you get better. I'm supposed to keep you honest. Louis? But... He's doing quite well so far, if you want to know. He reopened all the factories very close, and aborted the plan for weapons manufacturing. Dahl sat down on a chair by Dewey's bed. Your gold mine has proven quite rich, by the way. My mine, Dewey smiled. My mine. And Uncle Scrooge's fortune is safe. All your accounts have been unfrozen, and all the charges have been expunged. They even forgave Huey's draft dodging, though I think he's gotten to like life abroad. Dewey nodded. Good. Donald seemed to look around, feeling a bit awkward after all those years. I should go. The docs say I should still be in bed like you. He began to walk out the room. Wait, Uncle Donald? He froze, before slowly turning back to face his nephew. Where did you go? You were gone for so long. There was... Donald looked down. There was an invasion. Aliens. Don't try bothering to make sense of it. You won't remember. But PK... I stopped it. But at the end, I spent so long behind that mask, it was difficult to give it up, see? Are you going to settle down now? Dewey's eyes were hard as he swiveled back to Donald's. Donald's eyes kept pace with Dewey's. Then Dewey drew his gaze down to Donald's left hand, where a simple gold ring still encircled his finger. Now, here's my question. Is that ring with Daisy? His alien girlfriend? Yes, Donald has an alien girlfriend. Look it up. Or with that secret agent hottie? Yes, Donald Duck has one of those too. Look it up. Or for Google. Yes, said Donald, once he saw the ring. Yes, I think I'll settle down. He turned back towards the door and walked out without another word, with the weight of the world finally off his shoulders. It was indeed 1 week later when Dewey and Donald Duck were released from the hospital. A crowd of people gathered around, taking photos of the pair, escorted by Dewey's two brothers and personal assistant. Dewey walked with a cane due to the injury in his leg sustained from the fight with Ferret. Men in trench coats with tape recorders shouted at him for a story. His group wound their way through the crowd towards a long limo. When Dewey caught sight of the long, opulent car, he gave a dirty look towards Louie. Suddenly, a man folded through the crowd, firing off his camera wildly while asking a volley of questions. Where did he go? What were they doing? Is it true that McDuck Enterprises was going to sell weapons to the Soviets? A flash bulb was soon flying over the crowd, as the rest of the camera, minus a few parts, crashed to the floor with a shattering noise. Dewey then placed the cane back onto the ground, with a small dent where the wood was nicked by the metal rim of the camera. He then ducked down and sat in the car, followed by the rest of his friends and family. Louie was the last one in, smiled brightly, waving his hat towards the crowd. Looks like Uncle Scrooge is back in town, boys. The crowd laughed as they jotted down Louie, the Witty brothers' jaunty little jab. He was the witty favorite brother. The reader favored his sold papers with a smile, or an off-colored remark. But Dewey was all business, and a businessman was exactly what McDuck Enterprises needed right now. The group was gathered on the docks, sitting and standing around the benches facing the water, where the Sea Duck was moored, repaired, refueled, and looking as good as the day she was born. Dewey and Webby sat in the middle, with Louie and Goslin, out of costume, still going by the name Lorelei around the ducks, though she made no effort to hide her casual self, stood behind. Huey, with the three girls beside him, sat on the second bench, while Doofus and Doll stood by. I suppose this is it, said Huey. This was the last party altogether. From now on, we're pretty much on our own. I don't suppose he could stay, asked Webby. No, gotta keep moving. I like working for Mr. Cloudkicker. Lets me go places, meet people. Lee spoke up, and we gotta get back to St. Canard. Gaz placed a finger to her beak. Yes. And besides, confronted Huey, I gotta take these three lovely ladies back home. Neil gave sweet little sounds of disappointment before Rosalina spoke up. Can the laddie come with you, Louie? We want to see the world. Huey began to sweat. Well, girls, it's not like I don't want you to come. It's just that your uncle... Tio Carioca agrees with us, said Maria, whose English was improving. He think we should be with you, said Amelia, whose English finally existed. But, he said, clearly want them to stick around, but afraid what would happen if it came to pass. I mean, I'm all for it, but you know how much I like you, all three of you. I don't know if your uncle would approve if I didn't, His long, his thick, his hair. Huey blushed and let himself soften on the bench. Yeah. There was a moment where the three girls had frozen around the dejected Huey, before all three burst into merry laughter. Is that why you're so nervous around us, Huey? Because you thought you had to choose the last one. Yeah, what? Huey said, perking up. You thought you were into the group sex, so why you only said to us one at a time. Rosalina said with an innocent smile. Why did you not say something? Huey Duck. My man. Trixie will kill you, slowly, in your sleep. But Huey could not say anything. The thoughts and feelings he was experiencing in that moment were indescribable. Head, heart, and loins burned at once. You mean I can't? All three of you? Yes. All at once? Yes. And Joe approves. As long as you never look at anyone but us. But then you would have to worry about us more. A rumble in Huey's throat began to grow, becoming a cry, before morphing into a shout of pure victory. Hey everybody! He's gonna get laid! I'm alright! Nobody worry about him! I'm alright! He stood quickly, anxious to be on his way, while he shook each of his brother's hands in turn. Well, fellas, it's been great, but I gotta fly. Take care. Don't let it walk you too hard. Remember to eat a really expensive meal once in a while. Don't take any more nickels. He then reached for Donald's hand and froze. Goodbye, Huey, said Donald simply. Sorry I couldn't have been a better father. Louie and Dewey looked at each other quickly, wondering what Huey would do. His face was an unreadable mask as he stood before his uncle, the three girls placing their worried hands over their mouths. Ow! Move, Woodblast! Suddenly, Huey's arms reached out, circling Donald in a warm embrace. Donald stood for a minute, basking in a tightness, before his own arms came up and hugged back. When they broke apart, Huey looked up to be a better man, more energetic, happier, ready to love and be loved. He reached for the girls' hands, was the idly they hated 3 hands. The little girl Amelia, not content being left out, simply hiked up her skirt and hopped onto the back of their new shared lover. And Huey laughed, taking her light weight as the girls walked up the ramp of the Sea Duck, laughing and loving and lusting all the way. As the plane began to take off, Gosling smirked. Think it'll last? I think that's beside the point, Lorelei, he said, Huey. The very fact that it happened will make him proud to be a man for the rest of his life. Louis sighed theatrically, stretching his arms before placing a hand on his brother's shoulder. Well, Dewey, that's it for me. The duck is all yours. I kept the seat warm for you. Got your affairs in order, and tried to leave everything as close to it as how you left it. Hope you're ready for a hardcore pain in the ass. I think after all this vacation, a little drudgery will be just what I need. I thought so. He took Gosling's arm and began to walk away. By the way, I gave 15,000 to Bugs Without Borders. You what? I kept the receipt this time. Don't worry, it's tax deductible. He waved his hand lazily. Ciao. Gosling laughed, grabbing him by the waist. He flinched away a bit. What's wrong? She whispered. Sorry, he whispered, not wanting to ruin his exit. You're just still so young. How old do you think I am? I don't know, 17? Yeah, 17. When we first met. That was over a year ago. You mean... Gosling nodded her head with a smirk. Huey heaved a sigh of relief, turned her around, and kissed her as passively as he could master. Put the man on fire! Go higher and higher! I see the scene almost fire! Burn in desire! Used to outbursts like that. She let him, and he reciprocated. Idiot, she said as he disengaged and walked off, arm in arm into the proverbial sunset. I should be going too, Dewey, Mr. Duck, Webby, said Doofus, wringing his hands. Mr. Crackshell will be expecting me soon. I've got you-know-what to do tonight. Of course, Doofus, said Dewey, as you were. Doofus seemed poised to say something. He wanted to take Webby with him, make her his. He loved her so. He knew that now, and he regretted to ever let her go. Webby? She looked down with a pleading look, a look that begged him not to say anything. Her arms encircled Dewey's as they both sat on the bench. A terrible instant, Doofus knew she was lost to him, and that for her to be truly happy, she needed Dewey, not Doofus, in her life. Goodbye, Webby, he finally said, before turning and leaving. After a moment of silence, Dewey, Webby, and Donald all sat and stood by the dock, watching the sea began to ascend and fly off the horizon. Donald began to walk away. Uncle Donald? I'm not saying goodbye, he said. Not yet. I got a life to go home to. I'll probably be in the doghouse for this. Feel free to come back to the money bin, Dewey called, for your old job back. The position is still vacant. Is the pay any better? Dewey had a quick intake of breath, and had a few false starts before Webby jumped in. $5 an hour. Dewey said snapped back to give her a look. Miss Vanderquack! He's married, Dewey. 30 cents an hour isn't going to cut it. Dewey grinned before turning back to his uncle and saying firmly, $3 and not a cent more. Understand me? Donald smirked. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Welcome back, Dewey. Welcome back, Uncle Donald. The duck walked on, content in the safety of Scrooge's legacy, towards the old house he used to live in, with the little woman who named Daisy, who was assured to sock him in a straw for the biggest kiss in the world for being away for so long. Don't you forget about me, forget about me. Do you just have a playlist of 80s tracks for this? Yes, I did. I've been waiting for this ending. And so, Dewey and Webby sat, watching the sun slowly set over the horizon. The twilight air settled over them like a fog as the two bodies simply sat, feeling the air's presence through the contact of their arms. After a moment, Webby said, I have something to show you. Blindfolded and pushed, Dewey stumbled through the halls of the money bin. You could tell where he was, as the smell of greenbacks still lingered there, but faded over time. I wonder what was up. Just a little more, Webby said, before she stopped and took off his blindfold. Ta-da! She was holding a long package. What's this? Said Dewey. A present. Open it. He left it to her slowly, before looking back down to the package. It was goldily wrapped in holiday wrapping, each piece of which was tied with string so as to be entirely reusable. He smiled. She smiled. He began to open it, careful not to wrap the wrapping too badly. It revealed a long box, which opened to reveal a tie? They replaced the original that got ruined. I knew you weren't going to buy one yourself, so... No, Abigail. It's... I love it! He wound it around his collared neck and attempted to tie it on. Once, twice. In the practice dance, Webby reached forward and tied it for him. Neither of them were paying much attention to the fact. He glanced in the window to look at himself in the reflection and nodded. It's nice. I like it. I'm glad. Looked around the room, placing his hands on his hips as he surveyed the office. Was for once, he felt like he had earned the right to call his. What time does work start in the morning? 6 o'clock sharp. Right. Another day, another $1,000,000. He began to hobble out of the office. Come, Miss Fingerquack, let's go. Wait, Dewey? Yes? There's one more surprise I wanted to show you. He turned his head towards her. Yes? She took his hand gently and led him towards the money bin's vault, laid his hand on the locking mechanism, and allowed him to input the code. The bolts came undone with a loud, hollow noise. The vault door swung open. Inside there seemed to be nothing. As usual, the money of years redistributed among the brothers. However, as Dewey got closer, Webby, you didn't! It's all yours, Dewey, she cried, pointing at the shallow pool of money that formed at the bottom of the bin. Every single cent. With her help, and wincing from his lame leg, he began to climb down the long ladder. It took them a long time to reach the bottom, where the load, predominantly made of coin, but a few greenbacks around to fluff it out, lay like a silver sea. But, it's all of the profit to date from the gold mine, she said, pointing out a small, charred strong box. Plus, what you saved from the B&B. He hobbled over to the strong box and opened it. The absurdly high amount of Brazilian money, amounting to barely any American, lay in the box. Dewey smiled as he mentally counted it. His. A wild thought came to it. How deep is it? About 5 feet. We made sure to use a lot of small teams at this point to fill it out, you know. Perfect, perfect! He stood, taking her by the hand. Do you still remember how? Remember how to? Her eyes blinked. She looked at the sea of cast under her feet. You don't mean with your leg? Uncle Scrooge did it well into his 90s. I think I could do it with a bum leg. Come on! He fairly dragged her to the end of the wall, eyes shining brightly. And I was thinking when we get home, I'm thirsty for some of that good old nutmeg you make. Have I ever told you I like your tea? No, Dewey. Well, I do. I was just never thirsty for it before. I'm parched now. Hungry, too. Can we get some cheap Chinese or something? There's a takeout place in the corner. Perfect. I could go for some chop suey and rice, with all the free soy sauce and fortune cookies I could pocket. Ready? It's been years, but I think so. Bum, 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 bum. Let's jump together then.
Yes, I like that, Dewey.
Suddenly, Dewey counted 1, 2, 3 before the dive. Head first towards the money, followed closely by Webby. Defying all physics, the two bodies sliced into coins like water, all instincts coming back to them like the art of a bicycle, allowing them to dive through the coins like porpoises, burrowing through the greenbacks like two gophers, before popping to the surface, tossing the fruits of Huey's labor up, dun, 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 and letting it hit him on the head. Well, I suppose there's only one way to end it, boys. Hit it! Dun, 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 dun. Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg.
Race cars, lasers, aeroplanes.
It's a luck blur. Might resolve a mystery or rewrite history. Ducktales, woo! Every day they're out there making Ducktales, woo! Tears of daring do and bad good luck, good tales, woo!
Well, it seems they're headed for the final curtain. Kitty Jackson never fails, that's for certain. Race of masses,
Because successes,
dictators, woo!
every day they're out there making Ducktales, woo! Tales of daring do and bad and good luck tales, woo! The danger lurks behind you. There's a stranger out to find you. Oh, what to do? Just grab onto some Ducktales. Woo! This fic, what can I say? If I had to only read one Ducktales fic on this show, I'm dang glad it was this one. I suppose it was irony, kismet, like good fortune, to have read this whole entire thing just when the 2017 reboot series just got out. And believe me, that show was awesome. Hell, you can almost consider it this little fic its own personal finale to the Disney afternoon since, well, since the 2017 series is a reboot now, all these stories have now come to an end in this particular universe. Now they're going to do a reboot of a lot of this. With the introduction of Cape Suzette on one of the lines from Louis, we now know that there might be a chance we will see rebooted versions of the Tailspin cast, provided that they can get through with Rudyard Kipling. And we're definitely going to see rebooted versions of DW, which means that all the stories from the comics have come to their rightful end. Which really ticks me off since the comics ended on one of the worst cliffhangers ever, but that's just personal opinion beside. So you can either look at this or the remastered video game that came out not too long ago as the finale. Especially considering the fact that that particular game is the last time that Alan Young and Jude Foray get to portray their iconic roles. Speaking of which, Catherine Tate does an excellent job with Magic at the Spell. But hey, that's the way time works. And it's stories like this that remind us that there are fans who are willing to show off just what is great and wonderful about these stories, even if they did get a little more mature. So that brings us to the review. Bad points? Well, I do feel like Huey, out of all three brothers, kind of got the short end of the stick on the character development. He starts his arc off as the kind, caring big brother with Donald Duck like rage issues, and ends his arc still the kind, caring big brother who loves adventure, now only with three hot Latina mamacitas waiting for him at home, and now he's going to have eternal threesomes. To which I say, that no good lucky. Yo! Trixie! You say one more perverted thing about threesomes with hot Latina chicks, and Trixie will electrocute you again.
Or worse, still have Tempest do it!
Fine, fine, Trixie. Spoil sport. I did find that there were some grammatical errors here and there that kind of threw me off my game. Namely, some misquotation marks, some misplaced commas that I don't like. My other complaint is, and this may sound petty, but I feel like, for the most part, with the exception of the gore, the ed rating wasn't really needed. I mean, as a guy who writes an M-rated fic himself, I know how far you can do with an M rating, but for the most part, a lot of these descriptions weren't so far off that you would find in a very, very high-end shonen story that allowed it to get that far. Or even a TV PG rated show. I mean, we had casual description of nudity, but there were no nipples. There were some descriptions of the aftermath of sex, but there was nothing out. Hell, the closest thing we get to a dude scene is Boner Bagel's boner sticking out at attention as a white flag for everybody to see. Other than that, we never really get to see anything. It's just okay. There's gore, that's it. But even then, I've seen some shows that get I've seen some shows with PG-13 ratings that get away with just as bad of a gore as this. Hell, even the cussing's toned down, so I'm sorry, but when you tell me that something is R-rated, I'm expecting to see duck tits coming out the wazoo. My little brother heard me say that joke and he's looking at me frowning. And I am expecting to see some high-end sex scenes, dang it. If you're going to tell me something is R rating, you earn that M rating, darn it! You earn it and you live it! You grab onto it and hold onto it and you. Yeah! Tempest! You work for me, remember? Actually, the contract says I work for one Trixie A. Lilimoon, followed by the high end executive Princess Twilight Elizabeth Sparkle, i.e., my boss is Twilight, not you. Ouch! That's the last time I give a job to a former bounty hunter. On to the good. Everything else. I love the fact that this fic went through the effort of giving each of the brothers their own individual and unique personalities. Much like what Quack Pack tried to do later on and Ducktales 2017 perfected. I find it kind of ironic though. In the Ducktales 2017 series, Huey's really intelligent. Louie's more laid back and chillaxed, and Dewey wants to become more like the adventurous Screw side. Here, it's changed. Louie is more intelligent. Huey is more laid back, and it's Dewey who wants to be more like a businessman. I find it kind of interesting that in this way, all three of them somehow represented different parts of Scrooge's personality and what made Scrooge McDuck Scrooge. Which I think is kind of what the fic was going for. Was showing that in his own way, even though Scrooge didn't have any children with Goldie, his legacy still lived on in those triplets. His story still continued on as it was still there, personified by his three sons, so to speak. From Huey's more adventurous side to Dewey's more business side to even Louie's own desire to just be as true to himself as possible. I also like the way that the crossovers were managed, as each one basically brought out a different version of the Disney afternoon, with the exception of Rescue Rangers. But technically Chippendale's Rescue Rangers takes place in our world, in the human world, so I can imagine why. Because the closest thing you would get with a crossover with that would be, say, well, on the Negaverse side of things, David Grotterman.
Boo!
Who? Pray he never shows up on this show, girls. Pray for us. Discord down. You too, Conquest. Grotterman's not even that hated. Doesn't even make that many hate fics. But I digress. And the closest thing you would get for a mega crossover on that scale would be not so much anything from the Duckverse, but gummy bears and bonkers. But the crossovers here made sense because they all connected to the Duckverse, and if you've seen the comics, you know how fast made the species are there concerning the dog creatures. So seeing Goof Troop makes sense. It doesn't help that we also do see Mickey and Donald in a Goofy movie, but that's beside the point. Or seeing the idea of Tailspin. That's another thing I like about this is that it crossed over Tailspin organically. It took the fact that Tailspin was the show that was set in the 1940s and ran with it. Gave us an idea of what type of legacy Shere Khan left behind by making Farrah Kagan, who, I gotta admit, though he didn't show up that often, gave us a really good presence. As well as Din Massacre and the retaining arc villains. All the villains were pretty cool and interesting and very, very intimidating. I loved it. And gave us a good look at how the stories progressed from there with Tailspin. Or referencing how on Earth Max is Goofy's son. I kind of liked it, saying that basically the Goofy and Goof Troop is Junior from the 1940s cartoons, and the original Goofy is the grandfather to all that we see in the show that's actually named George. And I'm just that much of a cartoon fanatic that I knew that. And it all links up. I suppose, I guess that's another downside might be that they killed off DW, but what can you say? That's some of the dangers with the mask. But that's my upside. Goslin stole the show! Well, I was intrigued by the dramatics of the three brothers and the whole entire war and political agenda and the monetary and the constant running and world tour plot really dragged me into the story. It was Goslin that kept me going. What can I say? I'm a giant DW fan and I'm a huge superhero fan. Give me a break. But that's another way these crossovers work excellently, is that they also introduced the idea of legacy with Gizmo Duck, to the point where they are even imitating Batman Beyond. That was pretty dang awesome. Each of these characters also felt like they added something to the story. Even the three OCs. I also liked the fact that Donald Duck got to use his superhero side, PK. Which brings me to the other excellent part of this fic. It truly basically rewarded you if you're a giant fan of the Duckverse or even the Disney Afternoon. It works on these two levels. If you're a fan of the Disney Afternoon, hi there! You're being rewarded by all these continuity cameos, all these references, and all these ways that this story makes it work that you can believe that these universes connected. If you're a Duckverse fan, you're loving the fact that this is also taking elements from the comics and actually talking about them. Which is also why I love how they interpreted Scrooge. Basically, Scrooge, throughout this whole entire fic, still felt like a driving force. He felt like this giant legacy, this giant larger than life character that watched over all of them, watched over all the events of this story. He wasn't there, but in a way he was, through his legacy. Well, that's it for today's episode. That was one down, thousands more to go. I'll see you next time. And what's next for our little Saturday slash Sunday tradition? I don't know. I still got a couple of awesome fix little waiting to play, and maybe I might do that Pokemon story. But that's for another time. See you next time. Okay, one more. Ciao! Look out! Daring duck of mystery, champion of the right, who lurks behind the shadows, Darkwing owns the night. Heard some villain schemes, but the summer's up. 3, 2, 1, Darkwing Duck! What? I had to leave it off on that note. Dills!